Hey vinyl community, it's Joel from Planet 13. I haven't put out a video in about a month. It's summer, everyone's kind of busy. I just got back from about a 2 week sailing trip, so that kept me busy. And I have my full-time job, and I got like 3 part-time jobs. But I've been watching everyone's videos, usually on my phone, where I can't really comment, but trust me, I've been watching quite a bit of your videos, and I'm enjoying everything. I'm just going to go through what I picked up in August. I'm not going to go through everything. I probably picked up about 25 albums, but I'm only going to discuss about 6 just to keep it more interesting for you and me. I'm just going to talk about the albums I'm a little more passionate about and the albums that might be a little more rare. So let's get to it. First up, we have Tornado by Teenage Head. I pre-ordered this and got it signed by the 3 original remaining members of this band. This is a reissue of their 1982 6-track EP. What I like is this transparent gradient vinyl. It really looks awesome if you have a slip mat underneath it. You also get a pair of mock tickets. And you get a phenomenal 16-page booklet. Like, this is chock full of really interesting trivia and tidbits and interviews and images. I like how the cover of this booklet shows you how the original album looked. With this release, they have a side of 2019 remixes, and it sounds great. And the other side is the original mixes. There's also a few demos. So while the original was 6 tracks, this is 14 tracks. There's 7 tracks on each side. The original EP was released by an American label, and as the band was trying to break into the States, the label forced them to change their name to Teenage Heads, as they thought Teenage Head was too controversial. And with this EP, the band are really happy because they got to change their name back to their real name. Before this album was released in the States, the album label underwent restructuring, so all the bands on the label seemed to just be canceled, so the band never really had their American shot, unfortunately. With this album, I'd say it's more rockabilly than punk. Here I have a CD of Tool's latest album. It came out last week. It's Fear Inoculum. At $70, it's probably the most expensive CD I own. It has a 4-inch screen with some speakers, and I've muted that sound here to avoid copyright infringement. There's also an amazing booklet in here with tons of secrets awaiting to be found. Everything with Tool is deliberate, and there's even one page. It has little holes around the border, yet no one knows why. Beautiful artwork. I know it's a little creepy and scary, but it's just gorgeous, and this album even comes with its own charging cable. As for the music, I'm a pretty big fan. There was a lot of hype around this one as it's been 13 years since its last release, so you're gonna get a lot of mixed reviews as I think a lot of people's expectations are high, and I think due to the hype, some people are gonna be disappointed and some people aren't. I wasn't disappointed at all. I find it to have like a lot of John Carpenter like synth moments and some of the most amazing drumming I've ever heard. This is something you kind of put on and you just get lost in, at least for me. Next up, we have a fun little album called SpiderJazz. This is the soundtrack cues taken from seasons 2 and 4 of the 1960s Spider-Man cartoon. I'm more familiar with season 1, so a lot of this was unfamiliar to me, but it is such a great listen, and it might be the only jazz album I own so far. Here I have the White Album by the Beatles. I know this is fairly common, it's probably in everyone's collection, but this is the first time I ever heard this album. I picked it up because Amazon had this for $20 Canadian, which is like $15 American. On August 1st, they had this crazy flash vinyl sale up here in Canada, and I snagged 12 albums that were like 50 to 80% off. Unfortunately, they only ended up honoring 3 of those albums that I wanted. However, I am happy they honored this one because holy cow, this is amazing. I have to thank Melinda for always promoting the Beatles. She talks about them quite a lot. I know she's a big Paul McCartney fan. It's not like I'm anti-Beatle or anything. I guess I was just kind of sick of their hits. You know, it's kind of like how Zeppelin's always played on the radio. Someone might be hesitant to pick up an album and then they discover the deeper cuts and they go, wow, I get why Zeppelin's huge. This was the situation for me. I just always heard the Beatles hits and I just never really wanted one of their albums. I also never grew up in a Beatles house. My older brothers were more into Zeppelin, the Stones, and the Who. Listening to this though, it just changed my mind and it opened it up to a whole new world. I finally get why this band is so loved. This album is just pure organized chaos. So many different style changes from song to song, and every band member gets their moment to shine. Everything is so memorable. There's like dark moments, there's light moments, there's humor, there's just depressing songs. On the first spin, I had so many of these songs that I had just heard for the first time just stuck in my head. Like Dear Prudence, I had that stuck in my head for days and I only heard it one time. And As My Guitar Gently Weeps, wow, like why have I never heard this before? My understanding is that Eric Clapton did the guitar solo for this one, and I've never heard this even on the radio. I often wondered what it'd be like to witness like a 13-year-old kid hearing the Doors album, any Doors album, for the first time. Like the Doors are just so unusual in this day and age, and upon hearing that sound, like it blows your mind open. And I think how I experienced the White Album, like 50 years after it was released, I just experienced this phenomenon myself. Another $20 Amazon deal is for the Stones' Rock and Roll Circus. So basically this was $15 for 3 vinyls worth of content. Jamie Cottle has a cool review on this CD. I'll leave a link below. But this album, the vinyl version, it's pretty awesome. The Who sound phenomenal, and what I like is we also get Tony Iommi performing with Jethro Tull. The packaging here is nice, but for what they normally ask, which is about 75 Canadian, I wouldn't really say it's worth it for that price. There's no booklet, and I know we're in the age of the internet and they probably assume people are just going to Google things, or people already know the background story to this. But with this release, with so many bands at so many junctions in their life and career, I think they really should have had a booklet just explaining things. Like they don't even explain who Dirty Mac is. I feel too, since this was filmed, they could have included a DVD. I mean, a DVD costs them an extra 70 cents to produce. Just throw it in. Finally, here I have the Sweets Give Us a Wink. It's got a novelty cover where if you pull the inner sleeve, the eye winks at you, and I can't demonstrate it fully here as my version is a bit taped up from years of abuse. This is a more mature Sweet album than, say, the roller rink pop of Desolation Boulevard. Action might be one of my favorite Sweet songs, which is on here, although I can't decide between that and the 16s off of Dissolution. Other great songs off here are White Mice and The Lies in Your Eyes. I'd say it's a 10 out of 10 for me. This is probably one of the best albums, and it's perfect. That wraps up my video. Until next time, cheers.